and welcome to the Superboomer Lifestyle Show. I welcome guests from all across the globe to share how they are maneuvering through a world that worships youth and shames the beautiful process of aging. Today, we are welcoming podcast host Heather Hansen O'Neill to the show, and the topic is 3 tips to finding your fire. Might even be more than 3 tips. We're going to see. If you're here live, we're delighted you're here live. Make sure you comment below. We'll come back and respond. If you're here on replay, we love you as well. Make sure you do #replay and we will respond. And of course, we would love it if you would share. So today we have a great item for the Superboomer pick of the week. And that is one of my favorite things in the whole world. That is the Fire TV stick. If you have not looked at this yet, you should. This is something that plugs right into your computer, your television, and you can opt into all sorts of different streaming platforms, one of them being Facebook. So if you have the Fire Stick, you can plug it in. You can go download the Facebook app right onto your TV, and guess what? You can watch this show right on TV. So go check it out on the Superboomer Lifestyle. It's $39.99. You're going to love it, and it's Alexa voice operated. How cool is that? All right. We're going to introduce our guest. I'm so excited for our guest today. She already had me on her podcast. I was so excited to be on the podcast. I've known this person, Heather Hansen O'Neill, actually for quite a while. We met years and years ago when I did some events, and we have recently been reconnected. She's a speaker, an author, an adventurer, and entrepreneur, and she uses her action-packed experience to fire up audiences on her popular podcast called From Fear to Fire. And she likes to say that she's the igniter of inner fire. We're going to find out what that means. But in the meantime, let's welcome Heather to the show. And she's popping in right now. Here she is. Hi, Heather.
Hey, Caren. How are you? I'm so happy to be here.
I am so happy. It ought to be a sin because I always like connecting with amazing people, and you are one of them. We always like to start the show with a definition of what a superboomer is. So I'm going to start because the superboomer is not defined by their age. They're defined by how they show up in life, fearless, with a just watch me attitude. That's how I describe a superboomer. Heather Hansen O'Neill, how do you describe a superboomer?
Well, I love that your description has an F word in it, fearless, that I love so much. But the way I think about Superboomer, it's somebody who has earned their confidence with an experience that includes success, failure, and everything in between. And they own every part of them and their own decisions and their successes. I love it.
That is a great definition, and we'll pop it into the blog post once that goes live. Thank you for sharing that. Guys, if you're listening live, go ahead and tell us how you describe a superboomer. If you're on replay, let us know how you describe a superboomer. I would love to hear what goes in your head when somebody says you're a superboomer. Love to hear that. So today, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Heather Hansen O'Neill about tips to finding your fire. So let's just jump right in. When you say you're an igniter of inner fire, what does that mean exactly?
Well, what I do is everything that I do is wrapped around helping people light what's inside of them so that it can come out and they can be a beacon to others. And sometimes it involves removing something so they can see it. Sometimes it just is a refocusing, but other times it's just fanning the flame that's already there to make it bigger so that they can go take on the world, whatever it is that they want to do.
You're clearly passionate about that, right?
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah. You literally just, no pun intended, you light up like fire on the screen. I titled this tips, right? The 3 tips, and I know you have so many tips, but we're only going to touch on a few tips today about finding your fire. So one of the things that you say about finding your fire, and one of the tips is to be aware of and honor your intuition and energy. How do we do that?
Well, I think I'm going to take my own personal example because I am a highly, highly intuitive person who has suppressed it for a period of time because
Yeah.
I thought I was a little crazy. But once I embraced the crazy and realized that when I listen to my inner voice, that's when I make the right decisions for me that are in alignment with my values and my character. And so I help other people look at what it is for them.
Okay, you just said embrace the crazy. I love that. How many out there are listening to this and saying, yes, I'm going to embrace my crazy? I think I actually had a post the other day that I'm really happy
Oh,
with
you
my
did.
crazy. I said, I love this. Embrace the crazy. That might have to be my super boomer moment
Yeah. Love
of
it.
the day. What's another tip?
Well, okay, so I think that a lot of people have so much, they're looking at all these strategies and all of these things that are out there and they're trying to take action on all these things, but they can't because there's something blocking them.
Right.
And so I think the second tip is to really look at what might be keeping you from taking the right actions. And that's typically a fear, a limiting belief, an assumption, or a judgment. And so when you really look at those things and kind of bring them up from the subconscious, and then you can decide if you can use it, if you need to kind of shift your perspective on it, or if you need to let it go completely so that you can move forward effectively with the strategies.
And there's that F word again, right? There's the fear.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the fear. And, I like to say I'm fearless. I spoke to somebody the other day who said there's no such thing as being fearless. Everybody has fear. And as a matter of fact, which was a different way of looking at it, it's the fear that drives us. But I love the word fear. I think that when we show up attempting to be fearless, doors open.
It's true. And that, it took me a while to get to the point where calling my show From Fear to Fire, because a lot
Mhm.
of times people start out, they're like, oh, I'm not afraid of anything. And then I realized they're not my people. You know, the people that are drawn to me are the people that are okay with being a little bit vulnerable, being,
Oh my
embracing who they are.
Oh my gosh, so true. When I say I'm fearless, what I mean is that I'm going to have the stomach ache. I'm going to feel like I'm going to throw up, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Anyway,
What is that expression? Feel the fear and do it anyways.
I love that one.
It's true though. I mean, how many times have you approached a situation or something that's happened and it's just making you nauseated, you're nauseous, because that's how I get. I mean, I literally get nauseated, but you know that you have to do it anyways.
Mhm.
How do you do that? How do you make sure that you can do that?
Oh, okay. Well, I practice on a daily basis and I've gotten so good at it. Like I jump out of airplanes and I do crazy things. That's the adventurer part of my bio.
Yeah.
But I want to let people know that they don't have to do that. But you really do need to practice being uncomfortable so that you're ready when you need to be fearless. There's that shift. Once you can become uncomfortable, fearless is just a nanosecond behind it. It really is.
It is. A colleague of mine, Joey Garrity, likes to say, uncomfortable is the new comfortable.
Yes, that's true.
If you're not
Yeah.
feeling uncomfortable, maybe you need to go do something.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So what's another tip? We said 3 tips. So what's number 3?
Well, I think that focus and energy, people downplay energy. So I'm going to focus on that one for a moment because we need to own the energy that we bring into a situation. We need to own the energy that we bring, your presence that you bring to your interactions, your relationships. Right. And, people don't realize that they may be emitting an energy that's negative or complaining, and they're actually repelling their clients and opportunities. And when you're aware of your energy and you bring out the love and the good positive energy and service, you will magnetize opportunities to you. So really be aware of how to use that consciously.
That's so interesting. An expression that I've used in the past is, do you live in the Red Sea of scarcity or the blue ocean of abundancy? And I think that kind of goes to what you're talking about right now, is that when you approach things with scarcity and with this fear that literally paralyzes you,
Yeah.
It does come out in the way you network. It comes out in the way you communicate.
Mhm.
And we've all been there. I've been there.
Yeah. But you can recognize it on other people so
Hmm.
much faster. You
Yeah.
don't realize that you're doing the exact same thing. A really quick analogy, I'll bring my hands up into
Yeah.
the screen. A lot of times people are clutching. They're holding on to something
Mhm.
that they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose the, maybe they're running a little short on money, so they're holding on to the last bit or love or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And then you don't have any opportunity to bring more. So when you release your attachment to it, then more can come in.
And it's a game
There we
changer.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it really is.
it totally is a game changer. So I like to ask my guests all the time, why do you do this? What is your why?
You know, I see people every day that are unbelievably talented and beautiful and special, and they don't know it. And they're
Mm,
not taking actions to cultivate it and to share it. And when you share, when you really look at and take a hold of and light that fire inside of what's perfect about you and then share it, that's purpose. That's your
yeah.
purpose, right? So
Yeah.
my why is to help people who don't see it yet be able to find that confidence, that energy, that purpose that they need to fulfill what they're supposed to do in the world.
And that's it's so important. I hear people all the time say to me, but I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm passionate about.
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
know. Do you have any like a tip for that? What somebody, if somebody,
Yes.
what do you tell them?
I
Because it
just
happens.
did this. I just had a summit and I was doing a power talk on it and I spoke just specifically to this. So if you don't mind, I'll share it here.
No, absolutely.
So I think that that's one of the biggest things is that people don't know and they're really getting freaked out by the people who do know because
Right.
they're feeling this pressure. But it's because there's so much noise. Everybody has something. Everyone has a gift. And when you use that gift, you can follow your purpose, right?
Right.
But if you don't know, it's because there's so much noise out there, distractions, you're going by other people's priorities instead of your own. It's just too loud. So when you can turn that down and then turn up the knob, the volume on your heart, then you'll be able to feel it. You'll be able to hear
Mm.
it. And you have to do that because it's there. And when you do, and when you cultivate that practice of doing that, it will get louder and louder. And then it'll get insistent and start nagging you at 3 o'clock in the morning until you do something about it.
I love that. That last part in particular, 'cause it's true. It
Yeah,
keeps you up at night, right?
it does. It really does.
It really does, or it wakes you up in the morning. In my case,
Yeah.
let's talk about your podcast. We've alluded to it. Let's talk about the podcast. How long have you been doing this for?
Oh gosh, about a year now, and I just have the coolest people on this podcast, you being one of them. You did an amazing episode, just so authentic and real. I love it. I highly recommend people check that out. But I just have just really cool people that are drawn to share their story because it doesn't actually have to be just experts too. What I
Oh, agreed.
wanted, it's anybody who has gone through a challenging time, a fearful time, and they learned a lesson that someone would be able to learn from and be able to use in their world because
Yeah.
we all have those things and there are
Right.
heroes all around us.
So, do you have favorites?
I don't know. It's like saying, who's your favorite child? You can't do
Okay,
that,
let's.
Caren.
I'm going to refresh. I'm going to re-say that. Do you have favorite topics that you like to talk about?
Yeah, I do. I like to go deep.
Mhm.
So, there's quite a few topics that are very business related, and that's
Mhm.
awesome because I work with a lot of business people. But
Right.
I think that when the guest expert or whoever it is can go deep and look at that thing that really scared the hell out of them, that was just devastating, and they felt like they couldn't get up,
Mm.
that's the part. That's where the real emotion, where the listeners get so invested in them and they feel them and they connect to them, and that's where the learning comes from.
I love that because they resonate, right?
Yes.
Not every guest is gonna resonate with me, but some guests are going to resonate with me because they're speaking to me.
Yeah.
Even though they're not, they're speaking to the whole world that is listening, but they're speaking to me. And that, I think that happens with your listeners, right? Your listeners would say, oh, I really liked this one because it spoke to me. It resonated within me because I'm that or I've
100%.
experienced that. I love that you're doing this. The podcast is called From Fear to Fire. And for those of you who want to go, which you do, I'm telling you, you do want to go check it out. Go check it out at HeatherHansenO'Neill.com. And make sure you leave the whole entire name, because we were talking about this before. There's different people named parts of your name. So make sure you say Heather Hansen O'Neill with 2 L's at the end. You can check out the podcast, over the whole sets of podcasts. Go check out my show as well. I would love for you to do that. And then tell us what you thought in the comments. If you are on Instagram, you can also follow Heather on Instagram. It's heather.hansen.o'neill on Instagram. And of course, you can find Heather on Twitter. She's everywhere at Find Your Fire. And you can check her out at her Facebook as well. It's facebook.com. I was laughing. You didn't know that you could say fb.com / Find Your Fire, HHO, which stands for Heather Hansen O'Neill. Go check it out there. Now, you have an assessment that you're going to offer for, it's a complimentary assessment. Let's talk a little bit about that and what they can that's the wrong one. What they can expect. I did a little bit.ly for them so that it's much smaller.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you see, I need you around all the time. I need you in my pocket. I do. So the assessment is actually, I'm pretty excited about it because it's free, but you get so much out of it. It's a few questions that will make you go a little bit deeper. But what you'll have is, once you submit that, you will have me personally looking at it and giving you coaching based upon your answers for free. So go fill it out. It'll take just a few minutes of your time, and I'll give you some suggestions of actions that you can take that will help you right away.
Well, I thank you for your generosity in that. I mean, that is special. Guys, don't even think. Just click. I'm going to put the link in the comments. Go ahead and click the link. Go do the assessment. Let Heather know that you found out about her on this show if you have not already met Heather. Any last minute thoughts? Anything that you'd like to share about this whole fire thing and fueling our fire here?
Don't be afraid of it. Once you find that inner fire and you start to share it with other people, you can light up the world and you can make a real difference, a real impact. And you don't have to be afraid of that because it's always been within you all along.
Great advice. Great advice. I want to thank you, Heather. I know, first of all, you're not on the West Coast, so it's a totally different time for you. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show today. So many important things that you shared with us. Guys, don't forget to go check Heather out on Instagram. I'm going to give you these links one more time. On Instagram, you go check her out on her website where you can go see all the podcast, listen to the podcast, sorry. You can get her complimentary assessment. It's Superboomer Lifestyle, SBLS, free assessment, all caps. Make sure you do that. It makes it much easier. And then finally, you can check on Twitter. Follow her there. And it's not finally, we have one more. We have Facebook. So make sure you check out Heather on all of these because she's going to be waiting for you. She's not going to hold her breath. She's not going to hold her breath. We don't want her like passing out or anything. Go check her out. Tell her that I sent you. Heather, have a great rest of the day. I am going to do my super boomer moment. We already told everybody what it's going to be. So I'm going to drop you back down in the green room and then I'll bring you back up after the show. Thanks again, Heather.
Thank you.
All right. Isn't she amazing? I just absolutely love her. One of the things that I always do at the end of the show, and I'm just bringing it up here, is I like to talk about my super boomer moment of the show. And so without further ado, I'm just going to talk about it. Embrace your crazy. Oh my God. I love that. Embrace your crazy because we all have it. We all have our craziness. I like to say, I'm just being crazy. I make posts about being crazy. Crazy is not a bad thing. Crazy is just when we're excited or we're doing whatever we're doing. Don't look at crazy as a bad thing. Embrace that uniqueness that's in you that we also call crazy. So that's my Super Boomer moment of the show. We want to thank our guests for joining us because we know that you have a choice and we're thrilled that you decided to choose to join it with us. We would love for you to follow us on Instagram at Caren Glasser. You can follow us on Twitter as well at Caren Glasser. You can also follow us on my store, which is called the Superboomer Lifestyle. So go check that out as well. We just love that you joined us today because we know that you have a choice and you chose to spend it with Heather and myself today. For that, we are eternally grateful. Go out and give somebody an awesome day, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of the Super Boomer Lifestyle. See you next week, everyone. Bye-bye.